Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
I'm Colin.
I'm Brooke.
And I'm Sam.
And this is where we talk about all things Star Wars. And the big news this week was, of course, Chapter 9, Season 2.
Was it, though? Because I heard there's rumors of Max Rebo coming back. I think that's the big rumor that's going on right now. No. I mean, I think that's the big news.
I didn't hear that rumor, but Chapter 9, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was so what good. I fully expected when Disney purchased Lucasfilm in 2012. This is a Star Wars that I thought we were going to get right away. I think we had to wait until now, probably. I mean, Season 1 was awesome, but Season 2, the way it's starting off, I mean, my expectations have always been lowered, but Chapter 9, oh my gosh, Crate Dragons, back on Tatooine. Love Tatooine.
Yeah.
And the big reveals that we got and the rumors that panned out that we talked about on the podcast all the way back at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
It was so many moments where we all, I think, cheered, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Something that was pretty cool is that this episode really paid off to people who actually read the Aftermath books and the fabled novels of Star Wars, because for a while those have been canon, but this episode really set some stuff from that book to here, and it was in a beautiful transition. And who they cast as Cobb Vanth was perfect too. I couldn't think of anyone else being Cobb Vanth.
Yeah, it was incredible, man. From the recap that they gave us, which was awesome. I had watched the Season 1, the entirety of Season 1 about twice, I think, right leading up to Chapter 9. And the recap was excellent. I thought they did a great job there. But it started off with Mando and the child on a planet I don't think we still know the identity of. Did anyone find that out?
I looked into it and I couldn't figure it out. I think it's right now we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at first when I first saw them walking down there, I thought it was Tatooine. I for sure thought it was Tatooine, but then we see him later actually go to Tatooine, and then I was confused because of those creatures that are hiding in the shadows and they have red eyes. I thought those were the same dog creatures that we saw on Tatooine because if they made the same noise. So
see, I was thinking Corellia.
Corellia, okay,
that's what I was thinking. Because we had already seen that footage in the trailer and the TV spots. But when he's walking through, there's actual graffiti on the walls.
Yeah.
And that, of course, was perfect opportunity for all Easter eggs. And we've seen Sabine do graffiti, but I think we saw a Vader, some snowtroopers. C-3PO was kind of front and center. There's a Chewbacca. But the interesting thing I found out was the actual artist that did the graffiti is actually a famous graffiti artist. His name is David Cho.
He actually made a cameo in the next scene where they actually go in. I was going to say he was standing next to a green alien, but you only see him for a brief moment.
Yeah. So he's actually friends with Favreau. They did a virtual red carpet, and Favreau kind of gave the story about how David Cho came up to him and said, "Hey, why isn't there any graffiti in Star Wars?" Of course, he never saw Rebels, but in live action, there was no graffiti, and he offered, I guess, to paint, and he painted it himself. And his claim to fame is he actually painted the Facebook headquarters back when he wasn't famous. And for payment, he took stock from them before they became what they are now. So the stock that he got from Facebook is now worth $300 million. So,
wow.
All right.
So that's all he does now is just paint. Yeah. And he's got a very interesting life story. But
cool.
From then on, we get into the arena, which we saw in the trailer, the two Gamorreans fighting with vibro axes, which was really cool to see in live action. And was
that the first time we saw the vibro axes actually made contact with stuff? Because
because in live action.
I know I talked about Colin about this, but I wasn't sure how I felt about I mean, I get it, the blue sparks and stuff, but I just visually it kind of looked weird to me. That's my opinion on that.
I mean, so and I told the same this too, is that this is not the first time that we've seen a a vibro type blade, because if we like see him in the Clone Wars with the commando droids, and they can have contact with a lightsaber. Like these things are powerful, but not as powerful to cut through something as a lightsaber.
Right.
But seeing those axes for the first time was pretty cool. Seeing like the whole environment was interesting. I love shows. I love the show because we're seeing stuff in Star Wars that we've always wanted to see and that we've never seen before. And I feel like with every episode this season, it's just going to be piling up with like new things. And that's so exciting for Star Wars because there's so much story to tell and new things to explore and include. So I'm super excited to see where the show goes.
Well, totally. Obviously with the environment of a TV show, they could just take so much more time on everything, right? And so we can see these kind of, these shady areas of the galaxy, right? Where there's sketchy stuff going on, and we just get to see it for like long periods of time drawn out. And that's something that you just cannot get with a movie. And obviously we got some of that with Clone Wars and Rebels, but seeing it in live action just adds so much to that universe.
Yes. Yeah. And and something that would be super cool. I mean, I would be really surprised, but I could see it totally happening is for them to go to Coruscant and maybe do some stuff underworld and get more into the underworld of Star Wars. And and there was that game that got canceled called Star Wars 1313, and they like kind of did a tribute to it in the 4 episodes of the last season of the Clone Wars where Ahsoka and the sisters are there. But I would love to see more of the underworld stuff. And I think The Mandalorian would be the perfect way to dive more deeper into that because of seeing more crime lords, maybe seeing what happened to the to Crimson Dawn after Darth Maul left. Like, I mean, we still have no idea what exactly happened to Crimson Dawn. So I would love to see more of that stuff.
Yeah, Crimson Dawn is a whole nother series that Disney Plus can do. So going back to the fight where the Mando and the child will walk in, he sits next to an Abyssian, a character we saw first in the Cantina in A New Hope. And he's actually voiced by John Leguizamo, which totally shocked and surprised everyone because everyone pinned that voice as Jon Favreau. So I don't know if he was in the suit. The character was actually kind of short, and I know Leguizamo is a shorter guy, so he could have been in the suit. And of course, he starred in Chef with Jon Favreau. So he talks to him, and he approaches him for some reason because he has information on his quest that he was given by the armorer, and he gets ambushed. And it's kind of like Underworld there, where he kind of has to use the whistling birds to get out of that situation. But he gives him the clue of Tatooine. And I didn't think we were going to go to Tatooine right away in this episode, but that's what happened. And I know a lot of people do kind of complain about going to Tatooine so much, but if you go to Tatooine, in my opinion, and you really? Show us new stuff, I mean, it's well worth it to go back to Tatooine, and we got a whole lot of new stuff when we did get to Tatooine. And of course,
I did enjoy it. I am someone who was like, we've seen Tatooine so much. I really like seeing those new planets and like the new stuff. So at first I was like, oh my gosh, we're going back to Tatooine, but I thought they did it pretty well.
I mean, and something great about this episode, which we'll dive deeper into more, is that we got to see parts of Tatooine that we've never seen before.
Right. And so it was still new. It wasn't like all stuff that we'd seen before. So I was like, okay, I was okay with it.
And obviously, like Tatooine is like the most classic Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Like, so it's just cool. It's just
yeah, it's quintessential Star Wars. And of course we get to see Peli again in a Docking Bay 35.
Yep.
And she was a comic relief.
I know.
I like her. I like her.
See, I thought the comedy was forced. That's the only thing that I didn't like. I thought the comedy was forced. I mean, I might have to watch it again. I might have a different opinion later.
This little sassy woman who works on leaders and stuff. I think she's hilarious.
I see. I thought she was annoying in whatever episode she was in.
Five.
Yeah. I thought she was annoying in that episode, but I was actually kind of like to see her come back and to see her, see Baby Yoda and stuff. That was pretty cool. So
yeah, and it looked like he was working on a pod engine when he arrived in the docking bay.
But,
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, no. And something else about this episode is that there were a lot of Easter eggs from the Phantom Menace, a lot of them, and I was really surprised about that. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it was cool for them to go full circle and kind of like because that's just cool. That's just cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
obviously we saw R5 in that scene. I mean, that's kind of probably the first Easter egg we saw. Was R5 in 5 too? I think he was.
Yeah.
He
ended up showing up in the cantina, I believe.
I was thinking that, but I couldn't quite remember. And I meant to look that up and I forgot. Gotcha.
I am seeing David's face, and I don't think he's agreeing.
Yeah,
with me.
I was thinking about that. Where else have we seen R5 before? We saw him in season 1, right?
Yeah,
I think we did. Yeah, and it had to been on Tatooine, so it had to be.
Yeah. And the reason why you can tell it's R5, mainly because of it, like kind of has that that kind of explosion mark and like the oil kind of going down his head of where he had he had his motivator explode and New Hope. So those like small Easter eggs is what's just like
it's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So R5 does play an important role in this episode because he shows the Mandalorian a map of Tatooine, and if you look closely, you can actually see the pod racing arches in the map.
Oh, really?
Shows,
that's cool. Yeah,
that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, Mos Eisley, Mos Espa, and then it scrolls over and it shows Mos Pelgo.
Yeah, like a third of the way around the planet too.
Yeah. So it takes them a while.
Something that I did talk to Sam about was that, and David, you can probably back me up on this, is that in episode 8, when they did the highlight reel at San Diego Comic-Con for like the Last Jedi, they like did show like a picture of some pod racers in there, and then we never saw pod racers in episode 8. So I just wish we saw more pod racer stuff.
Well, Colin knows that, like, to me, like, okay, if we're going to Star Wars back, I've probably seen, and this is going to make some Star Wars fans cringe a little bit, I've probably seen Phantom Menace more than I've seen any other movie period in my life.
I actually love Phantom Menace.
Well, I mean, okay, here's the thing, right? Because like when I have 2 older siblings, right? So I saw movies sooner than I normally would have, if that makes sense, because they were in the house and whatever.
Right. And, that was my situation too.
Yeah, so I saw Attack of the Clones in theaters, like I think this day after it came out, and I was pretty young, right? And then I saw Revenge of the Sith, but in theaters as well, like opening day. So I grew up with Phantom Menace and like Darth Maul and pod racing, like that coolest thing ever. And I think that's really honestly what drew me into Star Wars at a young age. I mean, I obviously liked the original series too, but like as a kid, me who didn't like know about the fine arts of Star Wars, like Phantom Menace. So no, I've talked to Colin about this, but I'm waiting for a pod racing movie, like a serious racing movie that's all pod racing, because we just need to see more of that.
And I told you they probably want to do a movie. I could see them doing something for Disney Plus, but doing a whole movie would be kind of
like a picture like Ford versus Ferrari, or like some of those other like F1 movies and stuff, but like pod racing. You know, so like, because I love one of my favorite games as a kid too was the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Which came on Nintendo Switch. Phenomenal game, top quality. But I mean, there's so much lore there, and you get to see all the different tracks and all the different planets and stuff. I'm like, man, how cool would it be? A pod racing movie. That's all. All right, that's my pod racing spiel.
Yeah, shout out to Ben Quadinaros.
Yeah.
So the next scene, it shows the landscape, like we were talking about. He had to traverse a whole chunk of the planet, and it just added to the scope of Chapter 9, which was awesome.
Yeah,
it made it feel like a mini movie almost, with a length of 54 minutes. So we also see him talking and having a campfire with some Tusken Raiders, and we revisit the fact that the Mandalorian can communicate with them, and
there has to be
doing the sign language and like the vocal like projection that he does. And then we see a bantha skeleton for the very first time.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Like I mean, so kind of going into the Tusken Raider stuff, there has to be history. Like Din Djarin has to have history with the Tusken Raiders in some way, and I'm thinking that maybe this season, like there will be an episode where we kind of see of his, like I'm hoping for like an origin type story where like we like see him, you know, after the Clone Wars, he's saved and then he gets trained and then, you know, he like gets his armor and stuff and then he kind of goes on his own thing and then we kind of see what makes Mando. And I think the Tusken Raiders will play a decent role in that because you can totally tell, like it is, especially from last season and in episode 5 where he does the sign language, like that was like okay, and then this episode you're like he has history, he totally has history. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see more in depth with that because I think that dynamic is really cool.
Well, what we're seeing is like we're seeing the development of Mando's character through all those interactions. I mean, one thing I was thinking about is like Cobb Vanth, like he totally could have just shot him and taken the armor. Oh, you know, and could have gotten out of there because all he was there for really was the armor, right? Like, right. But instead, no, he like liberates the city of the Great Dragon and stuff. So we see that, and then we see him like not attack like the Tatooine dogs. What are those? What's that species called?
Massives.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right. I didn't know that. But you know, like obviously, Vance was like, you know, ready to shoot him and stuff, and he's like, no, wait, and then he like, you know, gives him a little pet and stuff, and it's all great. But then also, I mean, yeah, we see that with the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders. You know, like. You know, he doesn't see them as savages or whatever, as like they're kind of shown in like other Star Wars, right? You know, yeah. It's interesting because even though like we're developing Mando's character through all these episodes with those interactions, right? Because he cared about the village from the ATST, whatever episode that was. I don't remember, like 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think it's chapter 4 or 5.
But I mean, once again, that was something he didn't have to do, but it was something that, you know, he went out of his way to like care for these people. So it's interesting because we're developing his character without like, you know, straight up like sticking that in our face too. So it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next shot after he has a little campfire with the Tuskens is straight out of a spaghetti Western. Man.
It rolls was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was so good. And he rides in and we talked about this on the other podcast for Patreon where it almost looks like a truck is pulling the speeder.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, that's just kind of our behind the scenes filmmaking mind. But yeah, he does enter a cantina and we see the image that was leaked, I think, on Reddit where he's at a bar with the Weequay.
Yeah.
And that Weequay, I found out later on, is actually played by an actor named W. Earl Brown.
Yep.
And he was Cameron Diaz's brother in There's Something About Mary. That's the actor.
Oh, okay.
And he also played Meatloaf in a VH1 made-for-TV movie.
Okay.
And he's done all kinds of other stuff. Oh, he was actually also the cameraman in the very first Scream movie as well. And, of course, he starred in Deadwood with Timothy Olyphant. So it was like a Deadwood reunion. I never watched Deadwood, so... But... Yeah, that's a little trivia for you there. So yeah, he walks in with Weequay. He's looking for the Mandalorian, and the title of this chapter is called The Marshal, and the Marshal shows up. Mm-hmm. And when I first saw that title, I immediately thought the rumors. Cobb Vanth, Timothy Olyphant is playing him, and we see him, and it was just like, we're finally seeing Boba Fett back in live action, his armor at least.
Yeah, and seeing the armor was like awesome. I mean, I am very interested if they had to remake the armor, or maybe that's, you know, like, I mean,
they remade it.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't think they would take the actual armor like out of the actual archives or anything.
Well, they beat it up a ton too. Like,
oh yeah,
the armor was already beat up, but it was like, you know, hardly anything.
Sarlacc stomach acid digestion.
Yeah.
Battled armor. So yeah, he walks in, and yeah, Timothy Olyphant is like a really slender guy. So
it looked funny. It looked funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely looked off.
Yeah, he every time he walked wearing it, he like had a strut. Like,
Yeah.
like,
he
I
had a
mean,
swagger.
Well, it was totally like Old West, sheriff.
Yeah.
It was great.
I watched it with Chris, and he, he is not up there with like our knowledge, so he's like, is that Boba Fett? He like lost a lot of weight. And I was like,
That's funny.
I was like, just keep watching. And then he takes his helmet off and he's like, that's not Boba Fett. That's not Boba Fett. I was like, yeah, no. So like, seeing the armor was like super cool. I mean, because of it's been such a, in Legends, like we knew that he survived the Sarlacc pit, but now it's canon and it's awesome.
Yeah, which has been a debate for so many years now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It says a lot about like Dave Filoni and stuff, and like the track they're taking with the Mandalorian when it comes to it. Like you feel like they care, right? They really care about the Disney legend, or the Star Wars Legends stuff and making that canon. They're not just being like, we're gonna do whatever we want. Yeah, so that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the bar he asked for 2 snorts of spotchka, which of course that's from Sorgan, and I guess that's actually popular. It's like shrimp vodka or something. So he takes it, and then of course it seems like Din Djarin thinks he's an actual Mandalorian. He's found this guy, but then of course
he takes the helmet off.
Yeah, he takes the helmet off, and he kind of stops him in his tracks, and the marshal kind of explains what's going on, and then we get the vibration in the scene, the tremors, and my thought was, didn't initially go to Crate Dragon. I thought it was something else. I thought it maybe could have been a ship that was like under the sand, but a lot of people thought immediately Crate Dragon. I didn't know that Crate Dragons could swim in the sand.
Well, I mean, we actually didn't learn that much about it about the Crate Dragon until the Fable, books, I believe, and then we also learned about them in the Old Republic, because I guess they're in the Old Republic, and I didn't know that either. Yeah. So that was not what my mind went to. I thought it was like a stampede of like Tusken Raiders, or a stampede of like ships of like a bunch of people like coming in to attack the village. I was not expecting to see a scene from Dune and this giant worm like pops out of the ground and just eats the bantha.
Oh, that was amazing. That was so cool.
I was not expecting that. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. My mind went to Dune. I was like, man, this is a sandworm.
Yeah.
And it looked like a sandworm when it ate that bantha. But of course, we find out later that it was a Crate Dragon.
Yeah.
And of course, Din Djarin wants the Mandalorian armor, which I'm not sure if they're going to go into depth into the fact that it's not really Mandalorian armor.
Right.
It's Durasteel, and the fact that Boba Fett, Jango Fett weren't Mandalorians.
Yep.
But I guess if it's Mandalorian style, I guess it counts. I don't know how they're going to explain that.
Well, this is something I was trying to figure out. Disney themselves hasn't technically said that Jango and Boba Fett weren't Mandalorians, right? Like, obviously that's
true,
well defined. But technically, Disney could make them Mandalorians, right?
Well, I mean, something else that I found interesting too is that, Boba Fett was, a decently famous bounty hunter. So the fact that the Mandalorian doesn't really recognize that armor, or really anyone on Tatooine doesn't recognize that armor, is very interesting to me. So I'm really curious if when they do finally have that encounter, will he be like, oh my gosh, it's Boba Fett, or he's like, who are you, old bald man that looks very scarred and
I mean, people on Tatooine might not be as knowledgeable about what else is going on in the galaxy, though, right?
Right.
I mean right. So, I mean, yeah,
and I think what you're saying does have credence, because the simple fact that the story of Cobb Vanth in live action in Chapter 9 does vary from Chuck Wendig's novel in Aftermath. So it's a little different, but they could actually work around the fact that the stories don't match up. Attributed to the fact that Cobb Vanth was maybe lying about his origin when they do the flashbacks in the episode.
Right. Could you explain to the people that don't know about his actual kind of story from Aftermath? Because you're right, the story from Aftermath and then the story in here is different.
Right. So Cobb Vanth ended up fighting a bunch of pirates to get that armor, and he won, and he got the armor. And I think the Jawas had it at some point, but in the live action, it showed where he was like walking through the desert, and he collapsed, and the sandcrawler rolled up on him, and then he was given, I guess, water, and they sheltered him for a little bit, and they wanted to repay him for the silicax crystals that were in the Camptono that he stole. And he was looking around, and he saw the armor, and he figured I could use the armor to get rid of that like band of people, whoever who we didn't even talk about the Death Star from Return of the Jedi exploding. That was a pretty cool like little like Easter egg. Well, I mean that was, they kept on replaying it over and over again, and the Arabesh at the bottom actually was, someone decoded it really quickly, and it was actually the scroll from Return of the Jedi.
That's
like a
cool.
new flash or anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty cool.
That's a deep Easter egg. That's cool.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like their own like little like CNN, Fox News thing that they had.
Yeah.
And then that band of, I forgot, something collective. They show up, they take over the town, they terrorize the town. He shows up in the Boba Fett armor.
That was the mining collective,
okay.
And we actually see them in Star Wars Rebels. Yeah. So seeing those guys, I mean, we still don't know that much about the mining collective, because of like, I think the last time that we saw them before this was on the, I don't know the main planet from Star Wars Rebels where the character Ezra is from. I forget.
Lothal?
Yes. Yeah. That's the last time we saw them. So seeing them in a live action was cool, because we've only seen the actual mining collective like in Rebels.
Yeah, so that was a pretty cool thing to see. So he shows up with the Mandalorian armor, and everyone knows Mandalorian armor. So of course they were kind of freaked out about it. They get into a shootout, and he takes them out, instantly becomes a marshal. And what was the next scene after that?
That was flashback. I think then it goes back to the present.
Yeah, it goes back to the present. They make a deal for Din Djarin to stay in Mos Pelgo to fight the Krayt Dragon, and they team up with Tusken Raiders. So we get a lot of Tusken Raider stuff.
We did miss one thing, which I want to make this very clear. You like see Cobb Vanth on a speeder bike made out of a pod racer.
Oh engine. Yeah.
Right. A lot of people were saying that is Anakin's pod racer, and that is not true. I want to make that clear. It is not his pod racer. It's
the same.
It's
model.
The same type of engine, but it's not. Yeah. And there's a lot of I mean, I've watched a lot of YouTubers like say that it's his pod racer just to get clickbait, and it's not true. So please stop spreading that false news, because it's not true at all.
Fake news.
Yeah. So, but them teaming up with the Tusken Raiders is like super cool, and and we also see the dog creatures are called
Massives.
Yeah,
and they're on Geonosis and Tatooine.
And we haven't seen those since the Attack of the Clones, so more prequel Easter eggs right there as well.
We also got to see Womp Rats too a couple times. At least I'm assuming. Are they Womp Rats? Womp Rats?
Nope. Those are called Scurriers. David
really
posted something. I saw that and I was like,
I wasn't sure. I thought
they were Womp Rats.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, they first appeared in 1997 for the special edition for A New Hope. Yep. When, of course, old Ben, they ride on the speeder with 3PO, R2, and Luke. And you see them kind of off like to the side.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And if you move to the side, Sam, we'll see them in your background, actually.
Oh, will we?
Oh, yep. Oh, yeah.
Is it like, I can't even see. Is it that guy right
move
there?
Move to the other side.
Right there. Oh, yeah. Those guys. Yeah, there we go. Go. See? I'm helpful. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. So those are called Scurriers. I don't think we've actually seen a Romp Rat like in canon, have we? Like, I mean, like in live action or anything like that.
Not in live action, not in the movies. I don't even think animated.
No.
So
interesting.
They're just one of those creatures that are just talked about. We haven't seen
a lot,
but
a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Favreau to actually show us one by season's end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so they end up teaming up with the Tusken Raiders. They end up kind of talking about of what the plan is, and one of the Tusken Raiders hands Cobb this kind of drink thing that looks like really gross. Like it almost looks like that bread thing that Rey made in The Force Awakens, where like she had it there and then it puffed up. It looked like that, but it looked like a drink because he put his finger in it and then like
it was a lot blacker, and then
it looks more like a fruit or some kind of food that he like.
Something they picked. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. I mean, but then Cobb and the Tusken Raider were about to go into a full out fight, and then the Mando breaks up the fight with a flamethrower. And I think like the Mandalorian has used a flamethrower in almost every episode that he's been in.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So and then they go to the lair of the Krayt Dragon. And we find out that the Krayt Dragon actually ate the Sarlacc pit, and the theory is, of what I've been hearing is that the Krayt Dragon ate the Sarlacc pit that ate Boba Fett, and when that was happening, Boba Fett used the opportunity to escape it. So I'm like hoping that we see a flashback scene that like shows Boba Fett actually.
We have to
probably.
We have to.
I think they can just do that.
Yeah.
Probably. Maybe this is too soon to talk about if we talk about Boba Fett. But do you think we're gonna see him next episode? Do you think they interact next episode, or do you think is Mando gonna leave Tatooine and come back? Or that's what I'm interested
in. Leave Tatooine
exactly, which is why is episode 2 gonna be on Tatooine? Is he still looking for the Mandalorian, or does he think that he already found the Mandalorian? The Mandalorian just doesn't exist anymore.
True.
Right. And so that's a question mark.
You think Boba Fett's gonna like try to attack him and get the
Well,
armor back?
Boba Fett wants his armor back, right?
Oh yeah. We still don't know what happened to Slave One either. We have no idea if Slave One is still over at Jabba's palace. We have no idea if someone stole Slave One, and it would be really cool if the people who took Slave One
quite a while.
Like the people who took Slave One was maybe like Bosk or IG-88. Maybe seeing those old bounty hunters come in would be super cool.
That'd be super cool.
I know David had a theory that during the actual like fight scene, that Boba Fett was actually there with them, like during the final scene with the Krayt Dragon. Because if you see at the end, I'm probably getting too like soon about this because we'll cover later, but he has like some Tusken Raiders like stuff on his back, and then he turns around and then you see his face. But but David said, well, David, if you wanted to elaborate on it, because we talked about this on the live stream. For instance,
I'd say save it for the end.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry.
So yeah, I was going to bring up this Easter egg here. So a lot of people didn't catch this, but when they roll up to the Krayt Dragon's cave, they use some binocs, and those are the same exact ones that Toro Calican had to give up to get passage in the last season.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they roll up a bantha straight up to the cave. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're all thinking that the Krayt Dragon's gonna pop out and eat the bantha, but it doesn't. It eats the
same
person.
Yeah.
I cracked up laughing. It was amazing.
so many Tusken Raiders lost their lives during this episode.
Well, I love how many banthas they were willing to give up as bait.
I know.
I can't imagine those things are like,
They are. I mean, so those creatures, which some people don't know this, but they are. So blue milk comes from a bantha, and I've never seen more. I mean, we saw so many of them getting eaten or killed during this episode, and I never thought I would see so many and like in one area. I think that's the most we've ever seen those creatures, and it was super cool.
Other thing about that though is we got to see like bantha faces and stuff, and like we saw like the one dude, the one Tusken Raider like brushing the bantha's teeth and stuff, and,
with the gaffy stick.
But I mean, obviously they were just like masks that were put on elephants in the original trilogy, so we hadn't really seen like because they couldn't do CGI, or I don't even know, were they puppets? We probably don't know yet if they were done practically or probably a little bit.
I think they were done practically. Yeah. But as far as them walking, it feels like the original Bantha, how it moved. So I'm not quite sure. That was actually a question I asked myself. I was like, how did they actually?
Did they use elephants again, or is that taboo now? I don't know.
I don't think they could do that. I mean, it could have been computer generated. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're pretty good at this point. So
yeah. So after that they end up going to the townspeople and kind of explaining the plan. Actually before like this city existed, until I heard about it in this episode, was this really canon? Because I've never heard of the town until this episode.
I don't think it was canon. I think it was somewhere in Legends.
Okay.
No, I'm wrong. It was actually an Aftermath. This is a Chuck Wendig creation.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, dang.
So there's a lot of Chuck Wendig in this episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they go back to the town. They talk to the townspeople that they're gonna have to team up with the Tusken Raiders, and of course, we know from what we've seen in live action and just in general that like humanoids and Tuskens don't really mix. And of course, they're seen as savages, and it's almost like a Cowboys Indians dynamic in this episode. And I think George Lucas originally kind of envisioned the Tuskens as Native Americans. So there's a lot of Western influence in this chapter. So yeah, they convince them all to work together, and they have explosives. And you see the tension between the two peoples because one of the Tuskens drops one of the bombs, and there's like a confrontation that happens. But of course, it seems like Cobb Vanth is all on board, and he sticks up for the Tusken.
And that whole scene of the dropping the explosives and stuff is straight from Jaws, incidentally. I don't know if you caught that, but that's like straight up.
Right.
I think I did.
That's how they like the foreshadowing, like that's how they explain their explosives, right?
Yeah.
The thing. Yeah. But it's interesting because that's a straight like movie copy from Jaws. That scene.
Yeah. So yeah, they load up the Banthas, and of course they walk single file across all the dunes in the Banthas and make their way back to the Krayt Dragon cave. And they devise a plan of burying them in the sand and luring out the Krayt Dragon. Of course, that doesn't quite work out.
No.
So
they got a direct shot though, ultimately. So it was
it was an awesome shot. And of course, we lose Sand People. And then we find out that the Krayt Dragon has the ability to spit like, I don't think it's acid.
No,
because if you look really close at the Sand People that got the direct hits, they didn't disintegrate. They just like fell to the floor hard.
They're like, this is really gross. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it really gave the impression it was like an acid type material that like melted people away, but it wasn't. Which would explain later on when Din Djarin had to like improvise and use the Bantha, I guess, in reserve with the bombs.
Oh yeah.
He hilariously hits the back of the jetpack of Cobb Vanth, and he goes flying off just like in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is a big Easter egg of
that was super cool to see.
Of how he fell in the Sarlacc pit. So
the funny thing is, if you go to the data bank and you look up that particular jetpack, it says that there is a defect with that jetpack if you hit it in a certain spot. Yeah,
do it twice.
Yeah, you'll go flying, and it may cause injury, it may cause sudden death.
That's funny.
Oh, dang.
But even before that, though, to see Boba Fett's armor on a guy fly off with the Mandalorian Din Djarin was so awesome to see. The special effects were fantastic.
Oh, good. Very good.
Yeah.
Seeing him actually using the rocket on the back of his jetpack was awesome because of if you guys remember from the holiday special, like when Boba Fett was first introduced, they like had those toys that like came out, but then they had to recall them because of the small rockets on the back. People were like, the people who made the toys were afraid that like like they would end up getting lodged into the kids' mouths and stuff like that. So then they had to recall it. So seeing Boba Fett actually use it for the first time, like, I mean, because we didn't see him use his rocket like in the original films. So
it's in Lego Star Wars though.
Oh, true.
Yeah, it's
true.
One of the attacks.
Yeah.
Don't forget it.
And Jango Fett uses a rocket on his jetpack too.
Yeah. Yes. But we've never seen Boba Fett use it. So seeing seeing him use it twice, I think, was like super cool. I mean, and something that I've always wondered with that is that, like, how does he replace it? Like, does it go buy a new one? Like, I guarantee that,
Makes a new one.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, like the Whistling Birds too.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah.
Because of those are like super hard to make, and so I'm just really curious on.
They probably have a guy or a girl.
Yeah.
They're like, yo, I need a new one.
I got you. Here it is. Don't ask how I made it, because I can't.
Yeah, and we've seen the Whistling Birds, I think, used about 3 times now.
Yep.
And they were very specific in season 1 that they were very rare and hard to make, I guess.
Probably.
Course, I mean, they're made out of Beskar, so.
Well, I mean, maybe the word rare means different in the Star Wars universe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So yeah, they attack the Krayt Dragon, and the Mandalorian improvises and holds on to the bantha that's carrying the extra explosives. And I think we all immediately knew what was going on. He was going to try and go into the stomach of the Krayt Dragon. The Krayt Dragon comes out, takes the bait, but before that, the bantha like pulls away and pulls himself from the rope, and the and the Mandalorian's like, no, wait, and we have to sacrifice another bantha.
I felt really bad for that one.
I was going to be like, so many Tuskens and so many banthas were eaten during this, and that's just funny to me.
They were that passionate.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Freaking epic when he like, jumps out of
that was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. He uses a pulse rifle again, just like in the holiday special. Shocks the beast from within, shoots out with his jetpack, takes hits the button, blows it up from the inside, and that shockwave that you see, that was awesome too.
Yeah. So, and then when they are taking some of the actual meat from the dragon, I thought that was interesting. I didn't know if
the part kind of grossed me out.
Well,
like, I know it's meat.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
a part of me was just like, that's just
huge steak gets loaded on that speeder.
I found that interesting that they actually showed that on Disney Plus out of all the things, because like that was like, like a lot of blood and guts and all that stuff. So I was really I was blown away that they actually showed that. But the like Tusken Raiders like are actually digging through it, and they find a pearl, and I guess the pearl of a Krayt Dragon is like worth a lot of credits. So
it's a huge trophy.
Yeah. So I could see, people finding out that the Tusken Raiders have that, and then they, maybe end up breaking the truce and they attack the Tusken Raiders, and then there might be a war or something.
Not.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah, this episode really colored the Tusken Raiders so much more than
I thought that was so cool to see. Like, throughout everything, we just kind of think of them as these like mindless, savage creatures. Right. And then all of a sudden we see that they can communicate, not just with themselves, but with other people. They have a little bit of a
culture and stuff.
And I just thought that was so cool. And it really like shed some light on them as a species and like a people.
Yeah. And going back to the Krayt Dragon Pearl, you can actually use a piece of it as a lightsaber crystal.
Oh.
That's in Legacy. That's in Legend.
Oh, okay. I was like, where did that come from? Okay. Yeah. All right. So wait. So I mean, so that came from like the Old Republic, or?
So I think actually Revan has actually done that. He's taken a Krayt Dragon Pearl and placed it in one of his sabers.
That would be super cool.
So that's what Baby Yoda is building his lightsaber out of. Is that what we're saying?
Well, I think
can you just have a huge freaking lightsaber next to this huge crystal?
Just like
like 6-inch diameter blade.
Yeah. Oh geez.
Yeah. So speaking of Baby Yoda, I like how they didn't like force him on us. They didn't have him in the center. I
when
mean,
when he's in the pot, oh man, gets me every time.
Yeah, it was a spittoon. It was a spittoon.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because it was on the ground. That's what we all kind of assume. But yeah, I mean, there were several shots where they kind of feature him, but I mean, he wasn't the focus of this chapter.
Right.
But yeah, he's carrying him in a satchel at some points too, and I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah,
back as well.
Seeing like his ears kind of like flap in the wind was like,
oh, it's so cute,
baby.
I love him flapping. Just so happy.
Yeah.
The one thing we didn't talk about is in the Jawas, I'm sorry, the sand tank thing. What's it called?
A sandcrawler.
You didn't know what a sandcrawler was?
I knew what it was. I didn't couldn't think of the word. I'm sorry. No, but they had the blue and green R2 unit, and I was like,
oh yeah,
that was kind of cool.
Job. I really liked that.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see.
I don't know the protocol droid name of the white. There was a white head of a protocol droid that we see in A New Hope. He's like white. He's like kind of red. He's like I don't know the name of it, but when like the Jawas are like offering Cobb a like thing for like the crystals, he like shows that white head, and I was like, that's from A New Hope. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Easter eggs, man, on point. And they weren't forced on us. They helped move the story, which is the best. And then we get the right off into the twin sunset.
That was great. I love that.
Right, and the music goes as it normally does, the theme for the Mandalorian. Then it kind of cuts off, and I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? There's gonna be a cliffhanger.
Before we talk about the cliffhanger, can we talk about how it goes from normal screen to widescreen during the fight, and then afterwards it goes back to widescreen?
I actually didn't notice that the first time I saw it because I was like so focused. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. It kind of reminded me how some directors will like the IMAX format. They'll shoot some of their films in IMAX format, but nowadays they just usually they shoot it entirely in IMAX, so you get that kind of like 4:3 aspect ratio.
And I really haven't seen like that like since the movie. It's a Disney movie, but they ended up doing that in the movie Brother Bear. Like before, like he turns into a bear, he like ends up like, I mean, the like screen is like wide, and I mean like the screen is normal, and then when like he turns to a bear, wakes up, like the screen is wide, and then when like at the end of the movie it goes back to so I haven't seen that since that movie, so I was really interested by it.
I missed it. I watched the episode 3 times and I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I don't think I noticed it until James, I think, told me about it, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I need to watch it again.
I thought I told you that during the Instagram live thing.
Oh, did you see it?
Yeah.
You told me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought it was James for some reason.
I told you that.
So going back to the twin sunset,
the cliffhanger.
Right. We get a figure with his back to the camera.
I thought it was going to be Jar Jar, but
oh my god.
Or Max Rebo.
Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah, with a sand person gaffy stick and their slug rifles that they carry, wearing like a cloak tunic type setup. And then I thought it was going to be Tamir Morrison, which it was. He turns around, walks towards the camera. He's hairless, no hair on his head, no eyebrows, no beard.
He looks so scarred up though.
Yeah, and he's like severely scarred.
Some stuff.
Yeah. Oh man. So
are you in a Sarlacc pits? Yeah, you look.
Yeah.
well, I mean, so what are your guys' predictions of the story that's going to happen with Fett going forward?
Yeah, that is interesting, right? I mean, does he turn into like a good guy? You know?
I don't think he will.
Is he?
I think he's still pissed. I think he's like a blind guy hit my jetpack and I fell down a Sarlacc pit. I'm pissed off. I mean, for me, it would just make sense if like he like sought out revenge on Han Solo, like if like he doesn't like when we eventually see him talk in this and he doesn't mention Han Solo, I'll be very surprised, or Luke Skywalker at least.
Does he even know who hit him? Like everything was happening. Does he know it was Han?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I think Boba Fett's beef is with the Jedi and Force users because Mace Windu killed his father.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing that connects Boba to his father, Jango, is that armor. That was his father's armor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be on search of or trying to collect the armor from Din Djarin and the Mandalorians. I don't know how far he's going to get. I don't think next episode they're going to address it, but I think maybe further on down the season.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe,
We'll see it
or
this
next
season, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll follow him to wherever he's going.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that when I was saying that, but like, yeah, I mean, obviously there's that whole arc in the Clone Wars where you see young Boba Fett, and he's like freaking evil, trying to get trying to get Mace Windu.
Yeah. And going back to what I said earlier is where's Slave One? Like that like ship has been like, I mean, again, we actually have no idea how long Boba Fett was actually in the Sarlacc pit. It could have been a couple of weeks. Like it just depends on the timeline. Especially with Cobb Vanth getting the armor, because of he said that he was in the desert for what, a couple of days, a week or something like that. I forget.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was enough to collapse, apparently.
Yeah. So I'm just interested by that timeline. So I am curious if he survived, he like came out, he like went to Jabba's. Hey! Joseph's here.
Whoa. All right, so starting over.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So Joseph, we were talking about our predictions of what's going to happen with Boba Fett this season.
Oh, he's gonna kill everybody. He's gonna be awesome.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Did you guys talk about how cool it was that he had like the Tusken Raider Gaddafi stick and okay, cool.
Yeah, we just talked about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that ending scene from episode 5 from The Mandalorian, we see that figure at the end where like he goes down on one knee to see the assassin. I think we all can now assume that was Fett, like for sure. But in that scene, if you noticed, which I just rewatched it a couple of days ago, his like leg and like thigh pieces are very similar to a TK, but it's black. I will pull it up again to confirm. I
think Boba's arc is going to be he's going to go after his armor, like I was saying, but I mean, he has a huge grudge against Jedi and Force users. Yeah. So maybe we end the season with Boba reobtaining the armor and then going after Baby Yoda, maybe. If
we assume Ahsoka shows up at some point, right? Yeah. Then there's probably going to be something there, because I can't imagine Ahsoka and Mando don't get along. So
that will probably be during episode 4, I believe, David, right? Because you said that's the episode that Dave Filoni will be directing.
Right. We're kind of assuming that Dave Filoni's episode is probably going to have Ahsoka.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's rumored to appear in. And just this past week, there was an official Disney Plus account overseas, I think, talked about Rosario Dawson being Ahsoka, and then they deleted their entry or whatever. I don't know what it was, but I think it's almost 99.12% that Rosario Dawson is going to be Ahsoka.
I hope so. Yeah. I want to see Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So Joseph, what did you think about the episode?
I loved it so much. It was such a fun episode. Plenty of Easter eggs to go around. I don't know if we've talked about those yet or not. I'm sure we probably did a couple of them at least.
What were your favorite Easter eggs?
I loved the pod racer bike. The Obi-Wan sound for the crate dragon.
Yeah, we didn't talk about
that they used as the actual noise the crate dragon made was fantastic. Actually, seeing a crate dragon was fantastic for me, because that's something that's just kind of been in the ether forever and ever and ever for Star Wars fans. So seeing one live action in an official show hyped me up big time. Yeah, I woke up at like 5:30 in the morning to watch the episode. So on Friday, because I had to be at work by 7. So
I was gonna say I ended up getting a call from David and Matt like at 3 a.m. and I was like, you know what? I have to work at 7. I'll go back to bed. And I was laying there, and then I closed my eyes, and then in my mind it was just like dun 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 dun. And I was like, all right, I gotta watch it. Yeah. So
well, see, for me, I stayed up like kind of late just on the off chance that they dropped it like straight up at midnight on the Eastern side on the Eastern time. I was like, maybe it'll be up by 11. I can watch it and go to sleep and do it that way. So
nope.
I went to bed at like 11:15 because it wasn't up yet, and I was like,
yeah,
just gonna have to wake up hella early.
Did you guys have any issues with your servers because of like I tried to watch it on my Xbox and my TV and it crashed and I couldn't watch it. So then I had to watch it on my phone, and I was really bummed about it. But I heard David and Matt didn't have any issues, so I was surprised.
I watched at 7:30, so I was late to the party. Sorry guys, I had to do stuff that day. But I didn't have any problems with the server.
Yeah, no issues whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, no issues. I watched it on my Apple 4K TV, and right at 2 a.m. my time, it was right up there, like no hesitation. I played it, and then I texted you, Colin.
Yeah. So, but yeah, is there anything that we ended up not talking about? Because I think we covered it.
Yeah, the one thing we forgot was the Obi-Wan scream that they reused.
What up?
Yeah. And apparently I think the trivia for that was the original scream in 1977 was actually a Hanna-Barbera cartoon stock audio clip.
Oh, cool.
That George Lucas used. And then of course it's changed like 3 times. And the actual sound that we heard in chapter 9 was from the special edition, but it was like way toned down. What we have in a New Hope special edition, because it almost sounds like almost hilariously inappropriate, but in my opinion. But what do you think we'll see in chapter 10 is my question.
See, I think he's gonna do something else on Tatooine, because like basically every episode we've seen a Mandalorian in first season, he's flying away in the Razor Crest, right, to somewhere else. That's kind of how they leave episodes, right? But he's still on Tatooine, and the question is, does he think he already found the Mandalorian, right, that he was told about, or is he still looking for the Mandalorian whose armor he has? And that's the question that I don't know if it's been answered or if we have an idea. I'm still kind of inclined to believe Boba Fett shows up next episode and they have an interaction, but I have
a feeling we're gonna see Boba Fett for like 2 or 3 episodes more than likely.
All right.
But I think I forgot what I was about to say. But I'm excited about it. I think that he knows there's more of his people out in the greater galaxy.
Yeah.
So I think he figures out that Tatooine's kind of a bust as far as Mandos go, and he's going to go on to the next lead that he has, being, the bounty hunter that he is. He's probably got leads lined up, and the easiest one was probably Tatooine to follow up on.
We don't know his next lead, right? So obviously they could introduce that at the beginning of next episode, but I mean, my thought is he at least starts on Tatooine and something happens before he's shoved off to another planet, right? So
that would be cool.
What would happen? I mean, well, he has to go back to Mos Eisley, right? So we for sure have that, because he has to go back to his ship. I mean, unless they just skip that portion of it, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I was going to say, I think they've done that a couple of times where they actually don't show him actually taking off on his ship. I think they've, I believe they didn't actually show him taking off on his ship in the 4th episode. That includes the ATST, like of that episode. I don't remember him actually taking off in his ship in that one.
That's fair.
So
the other thing is that they couldn't have had him take off of the ship and have the last scene be with Boba Fett, right? So like that was something that they were limited to. So you're right, they could just jump to him being in space.
Yeah,
that's legit.
Did you guys talk about the Cyclops guy that they hung up and then they made it all dark? Yeah. Did you guys talk about the creatures there?
I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I didn't know what creatures.
I haven't looked into this at all, but don't they remind you of the creatures from Rebels?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And they were differentiating sizes and things like that.
I don't think it's that planet though. I don't think
because it's not the planet doesn't mean that it couldn't be the creatures there.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Because I mean, we've got Jawas on other planets now and all sorts of stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, the noises that they made were very similar to what the noises are made by the massives, right, David?
I didn't pick up on that, but yeah, I think there's actually 3 different types of creatures that do resemble what we saw.
Okay.
So I don't think anyone is quite sure which exact creature it was. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Joseph's right. Yeah, there were creatures like that in Rebels.
Yeah.
That was an awesome introduction of Mando's character at the beginning of the season, though. Like, just set that up, though. That whole interaction was.
That is like a dangerous part of town, though. Like, I mean, for me, I would have not walked down that alley. I would have walked the other way. As soon as I saw those eyes, I was like, I'm out. I'm not doing this. So, but yeah, going forward, like with other news going on, we've got the holiday special coming up on November 17th.
Life Day.
Quick.
Yeah. On official Life Day, which is pretty cool. And Joseph, you know that's your favorite holiday. Don't act like it's not.
No, the holiday special has a special place in my heart.
We celebrate a day of peace, a day of harmony.
Oh,
nothing better. I might watch it on Life Day.
No.
If you guys want to
watch it, we will watch it. We have to.
Do you want to jump on Zoom or something? And I'll watch. Well, I mean, we have to do Lego Star Wars, obviously. But if you guys want to watch the original, the OG holiday special, I'd be so down.
I don't
even
think
make it through.
I've never made it through.
I watched it with my family, like as we were watching, like as if we were watching a Christmas movie. It was amazing. My whole family watched the whole thing.
I don't think that we've actually done a commentary for it, and we've done a commentary for a lot of stuff. So that might be something we might want to consider.
I'm in. I'm down. I'll be there.
Yeah. We kind of laugh about the holiday special, but I mean, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have the pulse rifle.
Or the Mandalorian, probably, to be honest with you. Yeah,
we wouldn't have a lot of. Yeah, I was gonna say we wouldn't have a lot of Boba Fett lore because there basically isn't much up until then.
No. Yeah. And then something else which I talked to Sam about was that for fans of the Rise of the Resistance, they changed the entire line queue. Like, I mean, of the virtual queue. Sam, if you wanted to kind of jump into that and explain it to him.
Yeah, and I actually did read it after you called me. Yeah, so basically, it's not a huge game changer. Basically, you don't have to be in the park anymore. So you just have to have a reservation on that day, and then it's still at 10, right?
No. 7 a.m.
That's when the virtual queue is? Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Dang, man. So then nobody can be in the park. So you have to do it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, so you can get your reservation. But then they're still having the afternoon queue.
Yeah, the 2 o'clock.
Yeah, at 2 p.m. Yeah.
And then the other difference is they added plexiglass into the ride vehicle so they can have multiple parties on the ride at a time, which I think is a great thing because anything they can do to boost capacity on that attraction.
Yeah, for sure. And those carts are big enough that's not going to be a big issue.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a good thing. I don't think it really changes a lot.
Except you have to wake up super earlier now.
That's the only thing. People are going to be waking up super early, and now they're like, "Well, I can't even get into the park for another 2 hours."
Mm-hmm.
What do I do?
And the other thing is if people aren't at the park, and I wonder if this is why they did that, they can't just like run to like guest services or a cast member to help them out. You know, like they're kind of screwed until they get to the park. So that's going to be really interesting when that goes live because you're going to have people who have issues with it, and then they have nowhere to go.
That actually goes live on Monday. So we'll
find out.
We'll find out right now. Yeah,
we'll have to see how that goes. I kind of personally think it's going to be a disaster.
But for all the first week, it's going to be a disaster
have to see.
regardless.
We'll
Anything
have to
new is going to be.
Yeah.
People can't take change, so yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. The other thing you said is that it's going to be easier for big groups to get in, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's cool. I mean, because before the plexiglass, if you were like a party of one, you're still taking up a full ride vehicle, and if you're a party
Right.
of 8, you're taking up one ride vehicle. So
Right.
I mean, it would make sense for them to prioritize larger groups because obviously
Right.
get more people
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah,
Now with
and,
the plexi, they can have multiple groups of one or
Right. So
two.
that's good.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and something else I want to make clear: David and Joseph haven't been. So when you guys eventually go, I want to be there for your first experience. Like I have to be there to see your guys' reactions to the actual Falcon. I mean, because of I cried, Sam cried, Matt cried. I think James teared
Have
up
to live
too.
up to, guys.
Yeah.
It better not
Yeah,
suck.
so-
Is all I'm saying. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yep. So I believe that's everything. Is there something I did not talk about I missed? I'm just trying to think if we missed anything.
No idea.
So.
Joseph.
I showed up late. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Joseph. So so you are really into the novels and the books. How
Mhm.
did you feel about all the tie-ins from the Aftermath series? And
I
from the
loved it. I've said it multiple times. Aftermath is probably my favorite like book trilogy to come out. I mean, everything Claudia Gray has done so far has been amazing as well, but that Chuck Wendig series of Aftermath is so much fun, and so it feels like Star Wars to me, if you know what I mean. So to see those characters come to life, Cobb Vanth be on the screen in the Boba Fett armor, it was fantastic. It was just awesome.
Yeah. That like that time period is such a good one. It is a 30-year gap from Return of the Jedi to Force Awakens. So there's so much ground to cover.
So fertile for storylines and things like that. And I think we were texting the other day, Colin, and I was like, if they had cast anyone but Timothy Oliphant in that role, like it wouldn't have worked as well. It was just perfect casting there.
Perfect casting for that. Yeah. And we did talk about this already, but I love the fact that that we got to see more of Tatooine that we've never seen before. And I know that, a lot of people don't like them going to Tatooine a lot, but like it's such an iconic planet. I mean, that is where the whole story began. So it makes sense why they keep going back there. But like seeing like that character and seeing stuff in the novels, like it really has paid off to read those books. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, and for fans that are, huge fans of the Clone Wars and stuff, like we are going to see Ahsoka Tano live action for the first time. And that is going to be beautiful. And I can't wait to see how they do it and when they do it. I believe David said that it most likely will happen during episode 4 because of that is the episode that Dave Filoni is directing. So if it doesn't happen then, I'll be very, very surprised. But I really wanted to happen. And something else I would like to see is old Captain Rex. I think seeing him live action too would, and it makes sense because of they've already got the actor.
Did we already see Captain Rex? Was that I saw some people saying that. I the age thing doesn't make sense, but
no, that would make no sense at all.
Yeah, why is he on Tatooine? And
no, it's now canon that Captain Rex was in the Battle of Endor. So, that old man that we see in Return of the Jedi, that kind of puts on the scout trooper disguise. That is now canon. That is Captain Rex. So.
And I love that it's Captain Rex too, because like that's like his move throughout Rebels is like beat up a stormtrooper, steal their armor, and so he's like, it's worked before. I might as well do it again.
Right. So, seeing those two in live action is gonna, oh my gosh, that's like every Clone Wars like fan's dream is to see Clone Wars live action. I mean, and when the Kenobi series comes out, if there's no flashback scene of like Obi-Wan and the clones and like Anakin and stuff, I'll be very surprised. So here's hoping. But I believe that's everything. Yeah,
I think so.
All right, David, send us off.
So yeah, we have a Patreon. You can check us out there. We have a TikTok. We're on Twitter at Stuff Pod, Instagram, Star Wars Stuff Podcast. And of course, we're on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. You can come hang out and laugh at all our memes. So yeah, for Colin, Brooke, Sam, Joseph, I'm David. May the force be with you. This
Always.
Is the
Joseph, do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey.